Well, this is shaping up to be an exciting day in the garden. Today we're going to dig up some potatoes and see what the crop looks like. And if this tomato plant has any indication of what the garden's going to be, it's going to be a great year. Because look how tall that is. And it's still blooming up here. I've thought about taking the top of this plant out to give the bottom more opportunity to spread out and for strength, but I just couldn't bring myself to do that. I'm going to see how big it gets, and there's already many tomatoes on this plant. So let me give you a quick update of what's going on in the garden, and then we're going to get to harvesting some red potatoes. Most of the garden was put in 75 days ago. That's when the potatoes went in. Then a couple of days later, these yellow squash that you're looking at here went in. Although the yellow squash came up good and there's been many blooms on it, we've only picked 2 or 3 actual squash from the patch so far. But it's still kind of early. Right next to that is the burpy stringless green beans. It's a bush bean. They don't really climb, but they could climb if you put them next to a fence. We have picked several times out of this little patch here, and as you see in these pictures, we canned 7 quarts of green beans already, and we're still picking. Now over beyond this patch, you'll see another patch that were planted only 2.5, 3 weeks ago, I guess it is. There's also a couple of lilies coming up in that patch, and we just didn't have the heart to dig them up, so we're going to let the lilies grow as well along with the green beans. So we're hoping to get another run on green beans here in about another 3 to 4 weeks. The cucumbers are coming up nicely. These are about 3 weeks at this point here. I'm not sure of the variety of the cucumbers, but they are a canning cucumber, so I plan on making some pickles out of these. I'm starting to see little runners come out on them, and although the package said that these could run on a fence, but they could also just be as a bush, I'm hoping to run them up on these bamboo poles that I have here. We have a nice sized bamboo patch on the property, and I like to use the bamboo as much as I can just to get some real use out of it, because the bamboo is extremely difficult to control. And I've done 3 videos on controlling bamboo, and I'll put you some links down below so you can see that. So I'm hoping to get out of these plants here, there's 2 in each hill. I'd like to be able to can a few jars of pickles out of those if possible. And I think we can. The onions are not looking that great. I'm not well versed in growing onions, that's very obvious, and these are starting to die back on the top, so it's probably time to go ahead and harvest them. Obviously, I'm not going to get any big onions off of these this year. Many of them have already started to go to seed, so I'm going to try onions again in the fall and start from seeds themselves and try to do that method, but we'll see what comes out of this here in another week or so. So let's move over and look at the tomatoes and peppers. These peppers are very similar to a poblano. I think they are hot though. They will have some heat to them. There's 3 large ones there at the bottom, and the plant is still blooming. And from this angle here, you can see some of the tomatoes on this plant. These are a heirloom variety. I'm not sure exactly which variety they are. Some of them are having issues with a little end rot there. And some more of the tomatoes, and just to show you how big these have gotten. And these were put in, let me see, the tomatoes were put in right after I did the red potatoes, which is 75 days ago. So these are about 60 to 65 days. These were plants that came from Lowe's. There's some Roma in here and some more of the heirloom tomatoes in here. But they are just really huge, and they're all in pots. We don't have good luck planting directly in the soil with tomatoes here. And the eggplant, you can see, are coming in kind of nicely. We prefer the Asian variety of eggplant, which is long and slender. Well, let's go and see what potatoes we can find in the patch. If you recall from my video when I planted the potatoes, these are red potatoes. I planted these from seeds or from potatoes right out of the kitchen that had begun to sprout. And they're in containers here. So let's see what we've got. You can see that they've died back real well. And I probably should have got these out a couple of days ago, but I've been kind of busy. So we'll start right here. And my hopes aren't real high on what we're going to find here. And we'll just have to see. So it looks like we're going to have a total of like 3 potatoes off of this first one here. And they are small potatoes, but that's fine. They'll taste great. They'll cook up great. Now that one has been eaten into. I'll set it aside. Well, from what I've seen in this first container, I think I'm going to wait another week before I delve into the other containers and get those potatoes out. And there's nothing like compost to keep your soil very nice. And from the looks of things, the blueberries are promising to be a very good crop this year. We've already picked a couple of quarts. And man, oh man, these are really sweet. In my previous video, I talked about the compost we had gotten this year. Well, I put compost down on all the blueberries a couple of months ago, and I think it has really paid off very well. And I just can't stop myself from trying these out. And the last thing I wanted to show you was the olive trees. Now, these olive trees we bought at Lowe's about 5 or 6 years ago. It was late in the summer, going into the fall, and they were on a special for $1 a piece. We got 4 or 5 of them and planted them in different areas. Some of them haven't yet made it above 2 feet, but look at this one. And we've got olives on it. So let me bring you in a little bit closer and I'll show you the olives. Okay, here's a few of the olives right here. They're very delicate. And I probably don't have more than a couple of dozen on the tree. But even at a couple of dozen, I'm kind of excited about that. Well, there's almost always something exciting going on in the garden, and I hope this video inspires you to get out there and get something planted or get out there and pull a few weeds if you already have your garden going. So great luck with that. I appreciate you watching. I always really appreciate my viewers, and I hope you have a good year. Click, subscribe, share my videos with your friends, and until next time, I appreciate you watching. Oh, look at that. Ah, more coming in. And more. Oh boy. That's looking good.